All right, we're back on the starter generator. If you guys look right here, you can see how that one piece of that commutator is moved out. See if I can get this to go in. Yeah. Just made it a little bit more obvious. See how that's moved out? That one right there. That renders that armature bad. This is the same starter generator we were just talking about in part 1. I've got both the bearing caps off. Now we're going to hop into the noisy but okay and make sure that the frame is good and that the armature is good. Then we can replace the cap, whichever cap is noisy. So let's get into that one. All right, we've got the noisy one up here. Before we take it apart, we're going to see just how noisy it is. That's not too bad. So we're going to go ahead and pull the tail cap off. I'll spin the starter generator around. We'll pull the tail cap off and take a look and see what we need to clean up to get rid of that noise. I can't, it sounds like it's up here. If it is up here, it may just be the bearing plate. Excuse me. Which is no problem because the bearing plate on the original Craftsman starter generator, the bearing plate was good. So we get it turned around. Turn you guys a little bit. And all I'm doing is going to take the 2 bolts out here. And then I'll bring you around and show you the brushes where they should be. It's a lot more difficult to rebuild these properly compared to how I used to do it when I worked at Delco, only because I don't have all of the fixtures. There's quite a bit of carbon on the end of that bolt. We'll get that cleaned off. Okay, let me get that cap tapped off of there, and then we'll see what we've got. See, the fixtures that we had would hold these two together, not with that bolt, but it would hold the frame to the nose. And we'd be able to pop the back cap off a lot easier. But right now I have to hold this towards this in order to get that cap off. Get it moved out just enough to get a little pry tool in there. Just turning it 180 degrees, prying it off a little bit at a time. Take your time with it. Then you can start rocking it. Looks like the bearing's coming out of the housing with this one. Yeah. See, the bearing pulled out, so that bearing may very well be where our noise was. Well, that bearing's not horrible. I've seen worse. Give me a second. Clean the fingers off. These are very messy on the inside, by the way. Let's get our flashlight again. And see the way that looks? That's the way it should look. and we do have a little bit of grunge to get out of there. Not sure what was causing that. But I'm going to pull the spring-loaded arms back so that I can pull the frame off, and we'll take a look at everything. Okay, the way these brush holders work, all you have to do to hold the brushes back is just move the spring-loaded arm back far enough, and then there's a hole in the bracket, and you can stick something in. Just, you can see up there how that brush retainer is held back. That's all you need to do, and then you can pull the frame off, and that won't damage the brushes. You can see a little bit better, a little bit of a triangle there. You just move the spring-loaded arms back a little bit, and then you're able to hold the brushes back. I'm going to leave this just like it is. We are going to take a look at the shunts just to make sure that we are looking for my flashlight. I just had it. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? You see it? You see it? Not that piece of crap. The battery dies on that in a heartbeat. Where'd it go? Well, isn't there? It is. Looks like we are not rubbing. No, we are rubbing on one shunt right there, and that's probably where our noise was coming from. Let's look at our armature. See, here's our numbers stamped again. Oh, that front bearing's really, really tight too. We may see if we can get that to take a little bit of lubrication. If not, we can take all this off and use, where'd it go? This cap. This is the front cap. This is the back cap. These are both good. This is the one we just took off where the bearing stayed. And that bearing shot too. I'll probably just go ahead and change both the front and the back so that we're in good shape. And then when we look at the commutator, you can see we've got lands and grooves. What I typically do is I will take, well, let's see, I've got one right there. I'll take a pick and just gently pull through, and that'll pull the carbon out of the grooves that has accumulated over time. Then I will take a second. Stay put. Don't go anywhere. I'll put you guys somewhere else in a second. Just getting some emery paper. All right, let's move you guys over here. Since this bearing's a little tight, I'll be able to do this. Just get you some real fine emery paper, okay? And Give it a little polish. That'll do two things for you. Give me a second. Okay, what that does for you is that it does two things for you. One, it lets you know if you have one of those commutator sections riding high, because it will be completely clean. We're just rotating it just so that we can take a look and see that everything's still pretty even. And we're also running that emery paper across that so that we can make a good mating surface for the brushes to make contact with. Okay, these brushes are about half gone, so I don't know if this one's got more meat on it. I think it does. Nope, not really. Check the other one. Yeah, the other one, I'll probably change just that brush. This brush looks like it's going to be okay. I will clean the frame, and the way I'll do that is just using either brake clean or carb cleaner to spray as much of that carbon out as I can. Then I'll go through and I'll chip out the little boogers that are there. Then I'm going to remove this pulley so that I can remove this bearing plate and replace it with that bearing plate. And since we know the rear bearing is suspect and bad, then we're going to go ahead and use this bearing plate. So we'll catch you guys in just a minute when I get the armature free of both ends. Alright gang, not sure where I left off, but we're getting ready to change the caps. I got the woodruff key out. Now I'm just going to run a file over top of that woodruff key slot to knock down any possible burr. And I've already cleaned everything. All that I need to do now is to get this cap off and then get the good cap on. So a little bit of file in there just to smooth that down, and I should be able to use the vise to help me get that off just by setting it in there like that, letting the weight of the armature help me pull the cap off. There we go. Now I'll clean this surface, and I will also remove this collar. You can see that surface is kind of gummed up. That's what I need to clean off before I can remove that. And then we'll put the new cap on, come back, slide the frame in, put the tail cap on, give it another test. So give me just a minute and I'll get things ready to reassemble here. Okay, I'm going to get this tapped down, and I have this collar to put on. I'm just I think it's almost home. Looks close enough. Yeah, it sounds solid. But I can tell by looking it's not down far enough. So There, it's down all the way. Put this other spacer on right here. Slide that down. Now, we need to put the woodruff key back in. Close the vise up and grab the cap. Use the cap to hold it. Here's my woodruff key. After I get it in, I'm going to run the file over the flat spot, the top of it. And I'm going to get my tiny dead blow to help me with getting this in. Just my little brass dead blow. Easy peasy. Like I said, from taking it out, I want to smooth. Whoops. Just smooth the top off, blow it off. We take our pulley. Pulley has a flange that sticks out on one side and it's countersunk on the other. The countersunk side faces out. You put that on backwards and you have yourself an issue. Got it started. That fell right on. Perfect. This is a spring steel washer. I don't know if it shows in the camera, but it's wavy. So you put that on. That is your lock washer. And you can start your nut on there. I'm going to turn this all around. I'll get my impact and tighten it as tight as it'll go. Just tighten the crap out of it. It is not going to come loose. Spinning nice and free. Now I'm going to, I've got the pulley nut secured there. Now I'm going to go get the frame. So I took the frame outside and cleaned it. Then we'll set the frame down on there. Let the brushes go back into where they need to go. And just making sure that this, well, there's a little bit of junk. Let me spray that out. Mind you, I already took a pick and drug the carbon out between each of those lands, okay? That's already been done. The commutator's already been cleaned. I'm gonna grab the frame. Hang on. Let me shut that door a little bit. Should help you guys see a little. Yeah, you can see a little better. Okay, now on the cap, which you can't see at the moment, on the cap we have our hole right here. That hole lines up with that pin in the frame like we talked about earlier. When I set this down in, I need to make sure I've got my brushes back and out of the way. So it's just a matter of sliding the brush keeper tabs, the spring-loaded brush tabs, out of the way. And we'll bring it down. Carefully bring it down. Make sure our brushes are not in the way and don't smack the commutator. And we get our pin to drop in like it just did. right there. And we can remove our brush keepers. We can remove our pins that were holding the brush keepers. And then we have our tail cap. Scroll back up. And this will only locate one way as well. As you can see, there's a little notch right there in the case. And that's right where that goes right there. Okay. So, down we go. It should just settle right down into place. It might need a little bit of a tap. There, just with my hand. And that will line up your 2 bolt holes. The bolts have been cleaned of carbon. Set this one down. We will start it by hand. Same thing over here. Bring it down. See how it went out of whack? Got to make sure you get it right where you need to go. Oh, this one keeps falling out of place. Give me just a second here. That's why you want to start them by hand, because they can get out of whack. Because remember, they're going between your shunts that are holding your F side and your G side, your field and your gen side. Well, it spins real nice now. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, let's tighten these down. We can go ahead and just run them down with an impact, nice and tight, 7/16 bolts. One. Okay, and that's 2. Now set it back up in the vise. We're going to hook the battery up, see how she spins. And remember to check for the generator side. We're going to check for noise. We're going to check for starting speed, how well it spins over. And then we're also going to intentionally take the positive from the start post, put it over to the charge post. That's just using generic terms, okay? Armature and field, A and F. All right. Get connected to the battery. I'll go ahead and connect the starter generator on the start side, and I'll be pulling that off the start side and sticking it directly on the field side to test that it acts like an electric brake. As long as it acts like an electric brake, then that tells us that the charging side is good. Are we ready? Let's go. See if I can do it down here. Yeah, much quieter. Good speed. Now we're going to come over and touch the field. Hear how it slowed it down? So we should now have a good starter generator. So I'm going to pop the starter generator out of the Sears and stick this one that we just finished going through. We'll stick it in, and we'll see if we can get this thing to charge. But that's going to be for part 3 on getting this Sears Craftsman up and charging the way that it's supposed to, because it's time to shut up shop and go get a bite to eat. So that ends part 2. Promise you guys, I'll see you on part 3. Later. I'm out of here.